Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Ashish, and I did my MBBS from Privolzhsky Research Medical University, Russia. And today we have our guest with us for this podcast, Kiran Kumar. He will tell about himself a little bit. Uh,
Yeah, so I finished my medicine in Tbilisi, Georgia. I was in TSU, Tbilisi State University, and I recently just wrote the FMGE in January 2025 and cleared, and now I've started my internship here in Bangalore.
yes, and you are from which place here in
So
India?
I'm actually Tamil, but now I'm here in Bangalore. So I kind of grew up outside. I grew up in England, then came to India. So.
Okay. So, can you tell why you chose the Georgia specifically and the university? What stood out mainly for you?
Okay, so basically, me and my sibling, my sister, we joined medicine at the same time, and because we were NRIs, it was quite expensive in India. And so, though we wrote NEET and we qualified and all of that, it
Mhm.
became a financial decision on why we decided to go out.
Mhm.
For some context, my dad is a doctor, so we had some sort of guidance, a lot of guidance from him, and he was pushing this idea that to an extent, MBBS where you study doesn't matter because the human body is the same wherever you go. It's just a lot of it's based on your own efforts as a student, how much you push. So he was like, even if you go outside, it's fine. Focus on your PG and where you get that. So
Mm.
that's why we were very okay to going outside, and we weren't really affected by that stigma much of, oh, if you go outside, you won't get proper training and all of that. And
Yes.
so that's the idea of going outside. And then it was a family friend who suggested Georgia. They were
Mhm.
like, it's a very safe, very stable country. And we actually didn't know much about the country before that. Then after we got to know about it, we were pretty satisfied. For choosing the university, my dad was kind of mainly paying attention to which ones are MCI recognized and all of these things.
Mhm.
Because if indeed he wanted to come back to India, he didn't want any issues. So accreditation was very important. WHO recognized, and then MCI or NMC recognition was pretty
Yeah.
important. So TSU stood out, and it's the one of the government universities there. So we thought, fine, it seems like a good option.
Yes. That's good. And what about the application process and admission process? Like for Georgia, for the particular university, is there any like entrance exam or anything like that? And what are the documents you needed to take the admissions
Mhm.
there?
Okay, so there's no specific entrance exam. Especially now, they expect you to have cleared NEET, but beyond that, that's it. They do have a sort of namesake interview in which I think what they were mainly interested in was sort of English proficiency because the method of teaching is in English. So they want to make sure you can at least effectively communicate. So that was a main thing. Beyond that, they just wanted, I think, 50% in your school exams and things. They weren't too particular.
Mhm.
There were agents for this and things for admissions, and it was pretty straightforward. There wasn't anything that really took a long time. From what I remember, the only thing that took a while was getting the student visa stamping for passports, but that's about it.
Okay. And you studied your 11th and 12th standard in India or outside India?
I studied them in India, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah. Can you break down the fees and living expenses such as tuition, hostel or apartment, food, travel, and extra expenses for your
Okay.
university?
So basically, the fee for us, for my batch, was 5,000 US dollars per year.
Mhm.
And for my seniors, it was 4,500. For my direct juniors, it was 5,500. So there was this sort of increasing value, like $500, they would increase it every year. And I think this went, I think at the moment it's about 8,000 per year. I'm not quite sure, but they did slowly increase. And this was similar with other universities in the country. They had a sort of similar rate.
Mhm.
And so that was that. In terms of accommodation, I did stay in a hostel for 3 months at the very beginning, but I personally didn't like it. And since I was with my sister, we got our own apartment. And apartments, usually you can find a decent, at the time I was there, you could find a decent two-bedroom for around 500 US dollars a month.
Mhm.
This fluctuates with any sort of housing market, it fluctuates, but you can find pretty good accommodation. A lot of people choose hostels, or some people choose apartments. The university I went to itself doesn't have a proper hostel. They have like a dormitory, but because of locations, not a lot of people choose that. But that was very affordable. If you're okay putting up with the travel, it was a very good option. The universities have their own hostels and things, so it depends.
Okay. And what's the teaching style like and the curriculum and any early clinical exposure? How's the teaching style? They teach in English and like medium of the teaching about this.
Mhm. So yeah, it was completely in English. They did give us language courses on their local language. They taught us some very basic levels of Georgian to sort of read, write, and speak. And in hindsight, I think we should have been a bit better at learning the language. But we were able to get on. And otherwise, all the classes are in English, and most of the faculty do know proper English and they can communicate. In terms of teaching, they really focus on small group teaching. So they divide us into groups of about 15 or 16 students. So they really teach us in small groups, and we do all of our subjects in these groups.
Yeah.
And in terms of clinical exposure, I'll be honest, it's not amazing because, first of all, as foreign students, sometimes patients wouldn't be as comfortable with us, and there was this very big language barrier. So a lot of the time, if we were to take a patient history, it would be translated by the doctor who was with us. And so
Yeah.
it definitely was an area that we felt lacking in. And that is one of the criticisms that doing medicine outside of India gets, is that you won't get clinical exposure. And I think that's one area where it's definitely true because we didn't get that much. I mean, we had hospital postings and things, but it's not the same as how it is in India, where you're literally going to each patient, taking a history, and coming and reporting. It definitely wasn't like that.
Yeah. And how's your experience like adjusting to the new culture and environment there, to the language, weather, and local norms? Did they challenge you, or?
There definitely was a few experiences where we did get hit with a lot of racism in some situations, and to be honest, that's in any country you go to. When you're an immigrant or you're a student studying there, you will face some backlash, and that's we found it was mainly the older generations and who sort of had this sort of negative attitude towards us. People our age or slightly older than us, they were very welcoming. A lot of the time, they knew very good English, and so they got along with us. We formed a lot of friendships with them, but it definitely is a little bit of a cultural shock. I noticed my friends, some of them felt it a bit more than I did. They kind of had to adapt a bit more because suddenly they went from living in India to a very, very different culture. So
Yeah.
it's there, but there's plenty of Indians and plenty of people from your home country, and I think they ease you into it. So,
Yeah. And how did you make friends there and build your support network around it?
so I was very lucky in that when I joined, the classmates who I was put with, they landed up becoming my best friends. So I had 6 years of a great time with them, and beyond that, there's a lot of student socializing that goes on with like student groups and organization. So I would go to this one called Junction, which is basically every Saturday would socialize, meet, and it would be an opportunity for students from different universities to just talk and get to know each other. So that was purely social and was a really good time. I made a lot of good friends. There's also a lot of academic organizations. Like I was a part of one called GymSoc, and that was a sort of professional working environment where students got together, organized events and conferences, and there were a lot of these organizations in Tbilisi. So it was really helpful in that sense of meeting other students from different parts of India, not just my home state or not just focused on the languages I know. I met people from all over India, and I think that was a very big thing for me.
Yeah. From all the places from the India, people come there and we make friends. It was the same with me also in the Russia.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, because when you're in India, sometimes you're limited to a geographic location, but when you're in places like Russia or Georgia, there's students from everywhere, so we really mix, and it's really nice actually.
Yeah. From India, from which state people were there, and from the other countries also. Can you tell?
Hmm. So there were quite a lot of Malayalis. There was a lot of them, but there was also a lot of Hindi-speaking people. And I'm not quite sure exactly which state, but there was a lot of Hindi-speaking people.
Okay.
And as far as I didn't see a lot of animosity between these groups. There was a lot of mixing and mingling, and it was a positive experience.
Okay. And what were your the biggest challenge, such as stress, time management, loneliness, and how did you cope with them? Did you had any of this and staying away from the family? Your challenges there?
It was very mixed. Time management wasn't as big of an issue because the way our classes were structured is would have maybe two subjects going on at once and would have maybe 5 hours of class a day, maybe 6 hours. So they gave us a lot of free time, and so a lot of us had a lot of extracurricular activities and things going on. So
Mm-hmm.
time management wasn't as big, but sometimes that lack of structure or lack of rigid schedules made people waste a lot of time. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I found even myself is that I wouldn't utilize the time I had properly. I would just scroll on Instagram, I'd watch random things on Netflix, and
Okay.
sometimes you have to be very aware of yourself and that okay, you're here to study because it's very easy to just go completely crazy and relax and not, keep yourself
Yeah.
centered.
Mm.
But as far as being homesick, again, I was lucky. I had a sibling with me. I had very close friends. But it's definitely an issue. I see a lot of my friends who didn't have these things to keep them grounded, and they struggled a lot. So it can be pretty hard because you're in a new place, you don't have any of your old friends, and if you don't click with a good group of people, you're left floating, and that risk is definitely there.
Mm. And how about the safety in your city and the country, Georgia? Was it safe for the foreigners?
Yeah, Georgia was extremely safe. There would be a lot of nights when we'd go out and we'd be walking around at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock. Sometimes we've stayed out the entire night, and it was definitely very safe. Like, it depends. With any city, you have areas where if you go there, you're asking for trouble. But there are a lot of safe places, and Georgia in general is a very calm and very safe place. So I think it definitely was very safe. But of course, it's not been completely chill. There have been one or two issues that we've heard about, but it's the same. You keep a good group of people and you don't really risk yourself, and you will be fine.
Mhm. And about your university, is it recognized by WHO and NMC? You already told you did your research before going, so
Yeah,
it's recognized, right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. And how after when did you completed your uh, total course there in Georgia?
So I graduated a year ago, so that was in sort of August 2024.
August 2024. And you given your FMG Jan 2025 FMG exam you gave.
Yeah. So I graduated and wrote the very next exam that was available.
Yeah. And how you prepared for the FMG exam and how was your experience with it?
So I tried to start preparing for the exam even before I left Georgia, before my graduation, but it really wasn't that good. So I kind of did most of my prep after I left Georgia. I came back to India and I joined Arise classes in Chennai, these
Mm-hmm.
offline classes, and I went for 5 months of these classes. And in the end, I did like 1 month of just pure past year questions and just going through those MCQs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the biggest thing that made a big difference. I've done multiple GTs. I think at the point I'd done like 5 or 6 GTs of just practicing and going through. So it was just a lot of questions towards the end that really helped me.
Okay. And after passing the FMG exam, we must do 1 year
Sorry,
of
could you?
clinical internship here in India. So you are in your internship right now, or
Yeah, I think I'm having some internet issues here.
yeah, the voice is breaking a little bit, but we'll give it a little time and let's hope it comes back. Hi, it's got disconnected, but we'll join. He will be joining. So it's good. Like I'm. He's joining. He's in Bangalore and it's raining here, and that's why maybe the network issues.
Right. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no issues. It happens. Yeah, we were speaking about uh, the.
Oh, you asked me a question. I didn't hear it completely.
Yeah, we, in between.
Yeah, wait, I'm trying to go through the questions again. Let's see.
Yeah, you
You
were
spoke about.
telling about. I was asking you about the internship here.
Oh, okay,
How's
yeah,
the
that
internship?
question I didn't hear entirely. Okay, we'll start from that. If you just repeat
Yeah,
the question, then we'll go.
yeah. So after FMG exam, we must do here our 1 year mandatory internship to get our permanent registration. How was the process for you, and where you applied, and which college you got allotted, and where you are doing your internship right now?
Okay. So I went to the Carnatic Medical Council and I applied, and so they were allowing applications based on the provisional results from FMG. So you didn't even need the actual results. You could go with the scorecard and apply. And so I went, and they were working on a first come, first serve basis. So you didn't actually have a merit list or anything like that. So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like you approach them, you have all the documents they ask, and they give you a choice of which university and where do you want to go. And if it's available, they'll let you. So I had asked for MS Ramya because it was I heard a lot about it and it's a very reputed institute. And I was given MS Ramya actually. So that's where I've been doing my internship. It's been about 3 months since I've started. I've finished my PSM postings and I'll be starting OBG soon. So it was a pretty smooth process. KMT started very early and they didn't really delay much at all. It was very quick. I think it was just 1 or 2 days work of getting a placement and starting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And about we'll come back to about MBBS abroad. What do you think are the biggest pros and cons of studying MBBS abroad and not in India?
I think it really depends on what your goals are. You know, whether you want to come back to India, whether you want to leave. Because I know a few people who've decided to do the MBBS in Georgia because they don't actually want to come back to India and they're
Mm-hmm.
okay, writing USMLE, AMCs, PLAB, and all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, one big pro is that because the way it's structured, you have a lot of free time. And if you're able to use that properly, you can really make a lot of use out of it and prepare for these exams very early on. And
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of opportunities for career building, like for CV building. There's so many student organizations and so many opportunities that you can really build this overall CV because the way the classes are set is that you don't have to constantly be in the university from 9 to 5. So I think that's really good. on a more sort of personal basis, I found that I matured a lot in Georgia because I was away from my parents, and if they wanted to help or manage anything, it would take a 7, 9 hour flight for them to be
Hmm.
there. So that forced me and a lot of my friends to, one, rely on each other, but also be more independent and self sufficient and manage things. So if we want to find a new apartment, we had to go find an apartment. We had to negotiate with the rent. We had to handle the owners. And a lot of
Hmm.
my friends back in India, they would always have a fallback of their parents being there for them, or they would
Yeah.
stay at home and go. So we were forced to grow up at like 18. We had to handle ourselves like fully functional adults. So I think
Yeah.
that is a very big pro. And I think it would have been similar for you in Russia, right?
Yeah. It was similar for me as well.
Mhm. And I think cons would be, regardless, there's always going to be the stigma attached to us as FMGs that we went outside because we couldn't make it in India, or that we don't know as much, or that we're not as trained. And this
Hmm.
stigma, sometimes it's internalized. We ourselves think we're not as good. But I think, my dad was right when he said it's the human body. Wherever you go, it's the same human body. As long
Yeah.
as you are a good student and you push yourself. Some of the smartest students I know are FMGs because
Yeah.
they really do.
Yeah.
We push ourselves because we have a lot to prove. When you come to
Yeah.
India, they'll talk about private college versus government college. And then we're like below that. We're sitting as a third option they don't even think about. So that's one thing
Yeah.
I realized when I started my internship is that people will ask, where did you study? And there will be the silent kind of, oh, you're an FMG. And sometimes you have to be like, yeah. And you have to tell yourself, that doesn't mean anything. I'm standing here in my internship because I passed whichever exam that
Yeah.
the Indian government set, and I've earned my place here. So I think you have to really push yourself.
Yeah. And we have examples. There are FMGs are in all India rank top 10s
Oh, yeah,
currently.
definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, it's depend upon us how
Mhm.
we use our time and study.
Yeah,
Definitely,
exactly. I mean,
we can achieve all the things.
of course, there are good doctors who've been trained in India. There are bad doctors who've been trained in India. There are good doctors from FMG countries. There are bad doctors. It's just based on that individual.
Yeah. And your university was it beneficial if you want to go to the USMLE or maybe PLAB or maybe any other foreign countries?
They were very easy to negotiate with, and they aided a lot of the time. So they would give letters of recommendations. They would help,
Hmm.
sort out paperwork and things. And if you tell them that you needed transcripts or certain documents, they would be very accommodating towards helping you. One
Yeah.
or two of my batchmates, they cleared the step one when they were studying in the university. So they were given, the right sort of documents and letters of recommendations and things. So they were definitely very conducive for this.
Okay. And right now they are practicing in USA, like they cleared.
Right now, they are preparing for step two. I think they are looking to
Okay.
go there. Yeah.
Any of your seniors from there? Uh,
I'm not quite sure. My uni started its international students
mhm.
very recently. So I think I was like the third or second batch to have started. So,
Okay.
but there are a lot of students from other universities in Georgia who have, TSMU has a lot of students who are now in the US. And every year there's a lot of people who get placements. A few got into internal medicine and things like that.
Mhm. Okay. So this is the end part of our video. So what will be your last advice who are the students who are planning to do their study abroad?
I would say think about it. It's not an easy decision. It takes a lot of consideration. If you are willing to go outside and be done, as in finishing and then going to a different country, go
Mhm.
for it. You'll have a lot of opportunities. If you are thinking of coming back to India, really think about it. It's not a decision to take lightly, and keep yourself updated in all the rule changes. I think even now they've changed some of the rules for FMG eligibility. You have to have a local license in the country of study and all of these things. But if you have made this decision that you want to study outside of India and you're going for it, don't
Mhm.
second guess that decision. Don't spend the next few years of your life constantly going, have I made the right decision? Did I make a mistake? Because it's too late. You've made that decision. You need to focus on how you're going to make everything else in your life work around that. You know, you can't spend
Yeah.
all of your time second guessing a decision. You have to live, make the most out of it. And you can. And succeed. You will succeed if that's what you want to do.
Yes. So before choosing, like my advice will be, if you are getting here in government medical college, you definitely go for it.
Yeah,
If you are not getting it, and if you are getting private college and you have to pay a lot, then you have one more option, that is MBBS abroad.
yeah,
You have, if you are planning to go abroad, then do your research on the
yeah,
internet. You will get all the information on the National Medical Counseling, our official. There will be all the advisories, all the needed things will be there. So go through all of them and take an informed decision.
yeah,
And once you take your decision, stay with the decision. Don't second guess
definitely.
yourself. Yeah, and you'll succeed in the journey. Yeah,
You can, as long as you keep at it, and you don't let this whole stigma of, oh, I'm an FMG get you, because it's not worth it. There are
yeah,
good
yeah,
students everywhere.
yeah. Okay, so this was our podcast, and we tried our best. Uh, yeah,
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a really nice experience,
yeah.
honestly. Thank
We
you.
will speak after the. I will stop end the recording here, and we'll speak for a few more minutes.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, so audience, please tell how it was in the comment section, and like and share with the whom you think this video will be valuable. And yeah, bye bye.